Welcome to Bald Talks. This episode, I am talking about a theoretical season 2 of HBO's canceled Lovecraft Country. To help with this, I asked AI to formulate a 12 episode season 2 using the creator Misha Green's map that was published online shortly after season 1 was not renewed. I don't know about you, but I found season 1 an enjoyable watch. Will we ever see a season 2? Who knows? But I do hope you enjoy this speculative 12 episode synopsis that follows. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. Lovecraft Country Season 2 Supremacy Episode 1 The New Country. Years after Atticus Freeman's death, America no longer exists. The country has fractured into 4 rival territories after the magical events in Chicago exposed supernatural power to the world. Latita lives inside the new Negro Republic with young George, while Dee Freeman has become a brilliant but increasingly dangerous young woman obsessed with understanding the mechanical arm she now possesses. When Dee discovers that someone has somehow performed magic inside the supposedly magicless White Lands, she realizes Atticus' spell may be breaking. Episode 2 The White Lands. Dee secretly crosses the border into the White Lands, where the remnants of America's old government have built a paranoid police state around one terrifying fact: white people can no longer use magic. Scientists have spent years trying to reverse Atticus' spell through technology, human experimentation, and fragments recovered from the sons of Adam. Dee discovers their most valuable prisoner isn't a monster. It's someone who claims to have known Atticus and says Tick didn't close the door to magic. He opened another one. Episode 3 Blood Country. Letty learns Dee has disappeared and follows her trail west, forcing Hippolyta to return from her travels between worlds. Meanwhile, racial tensions inside the new Negro Republic reveal that creating a black nation didn't magically create a perfect one. Class, power, gender, and competing ideas about what freedom means are tearing at the Republic. A series of grotesque murders makes matters worse when the victims are discovered completely drained of blood, and each body bears the mark of Titus Braithwaite. Episode 4 Jefferson. Ruby's fate finally comes back into focus. Rumors suggest a woman matching Ruby's appearance has been seen inside the Jefferson Commonwealth, the wealthy Northeastern territory claiming to be America's only truly integrated society. Letty travels there and finds something disturbingly idyllic. Black and white citizens living together, immaculate streets, virtually no crime, and no visible segregation. Then she discovers why. Jefferson's citizens are being magically altered to suppress hate, aggression, and eventually free will. Episode 5 The Skin We're In. Ruby awakens with memories that don't entirely belong to her. Her years using William's body have left magical fragments of Christina inside her, creating a battle between 3 identities: Ruby, William, and Christina. As Letty attempts to save her sister, Ruby discovers Christina left something behind inside her consciousness, knowledge of a ritual capable of undoing Atticus's spell. The White Lands want it, Jefferson wants it, and Ruby isn't sure she wants anyone to have it. Episode 6, Sundown. Dee travels through the abandoned territory separating the White Lands from the new Negro Republic and encounters entire towns frozen exactly as they existed decades earlier. Every night at sundown, their dead inhabitants return and reenact the racial violence that destroyed them. Dee initially believes she's seen ghosts. She eventually realizes the towns themselves are alive, feeding on historical trauma. To escape, Dee must confront the rage she's carried since Emmett Till's murder and the horrifying things she did to Christina. Episode 7, The Tribal Nations. Hippolyta and Gia journey west into the tribal nations, expecting to find another nation built around conventional borders. Instead, they discover a confederation whose leaders have understood supernatural forces on the continent far longer than the sons of Adam ever did. They reveal that Titus Braithwaite didn't discover American magic. He stole pieces of something much older. Worse, Atticus' spell has disrupted an ancient balance, and something buried beneath the continent has begun waking up. Episode 8, The Book of George. Young George begins speaking to someone nobody else can see, his father, Atticus. Atticus appears first as an imaginary friend, then increasingly as a physical presence. Letty desperately wants to believe Tick has returned, but Gia warns her that the creature knows things Atticus shouldn't know. George eventually reveals his father has been teaching him magic in secret. The episode ends when George opens a doorway and something wearing Atticus's face steps through. Episode 9, American Gods. The four territories converge on neutral ground after supernatural disasters begin occurring across the continent. The White Lands blame the new Negro Republic. Jefferson blames the tribal nations. Everyone wants Atticus's descendants. Hippolyta realizes the disasters aren't attacks at all. Something beneath America is reshaping reality according to the country's collective mythology. Manifest destiny, racial superiority, exceptionalism, and conquest are literally becoming monsters. America may be dead politically, but the idea of America refuses to stay buried. Episode 10, Supremacy. The White Lands launched their plan to restore white access to magic using stolen Braithwaite research and blood taken from descendants of Titus's order. It works, but incorrectly. Magic doesn't simply return. Generations of suppressed magical energy flood into thousands of people simultaneously, creating grotesque transformations throughout the territory. Their leader declares that whoever controls magic controls the future of humanity. Dee answers by revealing she's learned something far more dangerous: how to destroy magic altogether. Episode 11, Atticus. The being wearing Tick's face finally reveals itself. It isn't Atticus, but it isn't entirely separate from him either. When Atticus died during Christina's ritual, his consciousness touched the same dimension Hippolyta once traveled through. Something ancient found his memories there and learned how deeply humanity responds to gods, monsters, fathers, martyrs. It wants George because George represents something incredibly rare, a human being born after the rules of magic changed. George isn't merely capable of using magic, he can rewrite its rules. Episode 12, A Country Yet to Come. War erupts between the four territories as the entity begins physically transforming America into a Lovecraftian landscape built from centuries of fear, violence, folklore, and buried history. Letty, Ruby, Gia, Hippolyta, Dee, and George reunite for one final ritual, but Dee refuses to restore the old world. Instead, George changes the fundamental rule of magic. No race, bloodline, family, nation, or secret order can ever own it again. The entity collapses, the borders begin falling, but the victory comes with a price. Magic now belongs to everyone. In the final sequence, ordinary people across the former United States begin experiencing impossible things. A child makes rain fall inside her bedroom. An old woman speaks to her dead husband. A farmer watches something enormous move underneath his field. Then we travel deep underground, far below the former American Midwest. Something opens an eye. Cut to black. Lovecraft Country will return. I'm Bald, and that's the Bald Talk. See you next time.